Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Until Morning or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by JordanUnbroken, and you can find the link on our show notes. This story is being read to you by me, Britt. Until Morning, Chapter 2. Scylla swallowed every word that threatened to come up. Logically, she knew that Raelle and her father had no part of what happened to her parents, though every time she stepped foot in her room to check her progress, she wanted to ask about the woman who drove drunk and killed her mother and father. Part of her wanted to tell them about how she ended up in foster care, how she bounced from house to house and grew up without people who actually wanted to keep her. The woman who would have completed the trio hadn't once visited her daughter, so Scylla assumed she was still in prison, or maybe they were just as angry as she was and lived apart from her. Scylla had so many unanswered questions, and clearly they had no idea who she was. It was certainly best to remain professional. "Hey, how are you doing today?" Scylla put on a bright face for the woman. Good. Raelle took a deep breath and leaned forward. "Being able to sit up on your own is huge. We're making progress. Can I have a listen?" She pulled the stethoscope from around her neck and checked her vitals. It wasn't really her job to do so, but she wanted to see Raelle. "How are you?" Raelle's brow furrowed, clearly focusing on every word. "Doing just fine, thank you for asking." Scylla and Raelle locked eyes and were quiet for a moment. "Speak, still, hard," Raelle spoke. "I know. These things just take time. Have patience with yourself." She put her hand on Raelle's shoulder. "Go home?" Raelle asked. "You have a little more time here, I'm afraid," Scylla told her. "You go home?" "Work. A lot." Raelle had a spark of mischief underneath still healing bruises. A line down her cheek would be a scar for life. "You telling me I look tired? You really know how to flatter," Scylla said playfully. Raelle shook her head. "Look, great." Scylla laughed. "Well, thank you. I've only been here for a couple hours. Tell me again when I check on you later tonight." "Can't wait. Hospital. Boring." Raelle spoke as Scylla made her exit. Did she just flirt with a patient? Real professional Scylla. Raelle had spent most of her waking hours watching the small TV in her room and working with her speech therapist and her physical therapist. Speech was only half the battle. Getting her legs to heal so she could actually use the bathroom by herself was painful and driving her insane. But urinating into a bag was not a recommended way of living. Her dad brought her books of crossword puzzles and a few succulents because Raelle didn't want flowers that would die. With having to work, her father couldn't keep her company except for a few hours in the evening. Raelle laid in bed and fidgeted as she tried to fall back to sleep. "Hey there, good-looking," a voice came from the foot of her bed. Raelle's eyes cracked open, and she groaned. "Hey, Tell." "At loss for words? Didn't know I had that effect on women as well as men," Tally laughed. "It's all right. Your dad told me your egg got scrambled a bit." Raelle gave her a blank look that had nothing to do with brain damage. "So, how are you? I'm sorry I couldn't visit. Work wouldn't let me go. I came as soon as I could. Caught the first flight out of Vancouver. I hate shooting in winter anyway. It's good to get out of here while it's still warm." Tally's genuine remorse for not being at her friend's side glistened in her eyes. "It's okay. Slow. Going. Want. Home, Rael replied. Have they told you when you'll be released? Week? 2? Rael shrugged. She patted her broken legs. Need help at home. Well, I'm all yours. Work wrapped and the apartment is empty. Gare and I are over. Deserve better. Rael rubbed her non-casted hand over her friend's. So any word about the guy that hit you? Telly asked. I know it's sort of a weird set of circumstances for you. Rael sighed. No, charges, cover, bills. So all your stuff is covered? Good. Sort of sorry to see him get away scot-free, though. Rael shook her head. He's live with it. He still hurt you, Ray. I don't like seeing my best friend hurt. I'm alive. Rael shrugged and smiled wistfully. Was an accident. There was a beat of silence between them. So what do you do for fun around here? Telly leaned back in the reclining chair. Rael lifted up the crossword puzzle book. Damn, we need to get you some better material. Pretty doctors, Rael smirked. Oh, I'm so down for eye candy. Also maybe some actual candy. Want something from the vending machine? Peanut, butter, cups. Rael was happy to have anything that wasn't hospital food. You got it. Tally got up and went in search for comfort food. Happy to have some company, but tired from a strenuous morning, Rael rested her eyes. Scylla sat outside on the edge of a waist-high flower bed. Her day had gone from bad to worse with 3 fatalities. It's a strange feeling, being the bearer of bad news. She put her head in her hands and took some deep breaths. Tears fell and she blew her nose in a napkin. She glanced at her watch, telling her it was almost time for rounds. She stopped in the bathroom to put herself back together. Scylla splashed water on her face and dabbed herself with paper towels. A toilet flushed behind her and the woman came to the sinks to wash her hands. They wordlessly went about their business for a few moments before the woman turned toward Scylla. Hey, I'm sorry, but do I know you? Don't think so. I'm a doctor here, though. Been here before? Scylla looked from the woman, back to her own reflection and fixed her hair. I swear we've met before. The red-headed woman stared at her for a moment. Sorry, I can't help you. Maybe I have one of those faces? Scylla shrugged. Have a good night. Scylla left the woman standing at the sinks. Today has been strange as hell. Scylla waited to do Rael's room last on her rounds. It was almost 10 o'clock and she assumed Rael would be asleep. No such luck. Hey, you. Still look good. Rael gave Scylla a soft smile. Scylla's heart clenched. Thanks. How was your day? She spoke woodenly, her own day weighing on her. Good. Friend came. Therapy. Not good. I'm glad you're getting more visitors. Gives you a reason to get moving a little. I know your physical therapy is like growing pains, but you have to stick with it. Otherwise, your body won't heal right. Speech. Oh, I see. Well, it's sort of the same. You're teaching your brain how to speak all over again. It forgot you knew how to make words. You'll get there, though. Thank you. Rael put her hand out, palm side up. It's what I'm here for. Scylla took Rael's hand and squeezed her fingers. I'm sorry this happened to you. Rael looked momentarily confused, but shook her head and replied, Not your fault. Scylla nodded. I know, but I can still be angry that people end up in your position because of reckless people. You don't deserve this. She spoke with more of an edge than she intended. Rael's eyes saddened. Was accident, not his fault. Scylla didn't have the energy to argue, especially since her patient had no ill will towards the man who hit her. I'm glad you're still here. Scylla realized they were still holding hands and let go, her cold fingers skimming over Rael's warm palm. Good night. I'll see you in a couple of days. I'm off for the next few. Scylla felt Rael's eyes follow her as she left briskly out the door. Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.